With arguably the catchiest event title name in the game, Our Man in Tehran is a really nice event for the US. We'll take a close look at this card today here on Legendary Tactics. Our Man in Tehran is a fun event for the US player, not too dissimilar to Ask Not What Your Country Can Do For You, but not quite as good. The USSR will likely need to play this card to get it out of the deck, but the timing here is important. Let's take a look at it more closely. First of all, the event. Our Man in Tehran is a starred 2-op mid-war US event card. If the event is triggered and the US controls at least one country in the Middle East, the US player draws the top 5 cards from the draw pile. The US can then reveal and discard any or all of these drawn cards without triggering the event. Any remaining drawn cards are returned to the draw deck, and the draw deck is reshuffled. For the USSR, this card is likely one you will want to send to space. The question is whether you can afford it, given that there are probably other, less mitigatable events in your hand. While it can be a great event for the US, there is nothing here that is guaranteed. They could draw a bunch of your events, or they could draw a bunch of theirs. The good news is that your event cards, including your starred events, remain in play, even if they are dropped onto the discard pile for now. This card also loses a bit of its punch if a lot of your best events are already on the discard pile. It is, of course, safe to play in the unlikely event that the US doesn't control a single country in the Middle East. If the US only controls one country, the sneaky play would be to use the ops provided by Our Man in Tehran to break control of that country before triggering the event, which, of course, would resolve to no effect in that instance. The only downside to this would be that Our Man in Tehran would remain in play, likely to return later after the US has had a chance to establish some presence in the Middle East. So keep this in mind unless it's after the turn 7 reshuffle and the card is unlikely to return. And for the US, this is an event that is always worth the gamble. 2 ops is a small price to pay for potentially kicking the can down the road. The can in this case being Soviet events and unfavorable scoring cards. Even if it doesn't work all that well, it's a risk worth taking. This card is not as great on turn 6 when most of the cards you would want to get rid of might already have passed. If that's the case, if you can, hang on to it until after the reshuffle on turn 7. But to play devil's advocate here, late in the mid-war, it may actually be easier to identify which Soviet events haven't turned up yet, which you can then get rid of with Our Man in Tehran. Use your discretion here. If this card doesn't get triggered until the late war, it can be especially powerful as the Soviet event cards and scoring cards discarded are not going to come back to haunt you, unless Salt Negotiations is still in play. It also tilts the draw deck in your favor, making subsequent card draws somewhat more friendly to you, which is a subtle effect but always a welcome one. So in summary, for the Soviet player, this is likely a card that you will need to play for the ops and hope the US has a bad draw. And you want to play this card before the turn 7 reshuffle, so at least any of your discarded events will be returned to the draw deck in time for the late war. And for the US player, this is an event that is always worth taking, likely as a headline. If it can help you delay or prevent some powerful Soviet events or avoid scoring a region where your opponent dominates, it is worth it. This has been our analysis of the Our Man in Tehran card in Twilight Struggle. We hope you got a lot of value out of this video, and if you did, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next time on Legendary Tactics.